Welcome back to my channel, Rare Coins Shop. If you're excited about finding hidden gems in your pocket change, you're in the right place. First, we're going to uncover some of the most valuable and rare US coins that could be worth a fortune. Let's dive in. We're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from 1943, specifically the one minted in Philadelphia, marked with that tiny but important P mint mark. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a nickel, right? Well, let me tell you right now, this is no ordinary nickel. This is a coin that tells a story from the heart of World War II, a time when the world was at war, resources were scarce, and even the materials used to mint coins were changed to help support the war effort. It's more than a coin, it's a piece of history. And if you're lucky enough to find the right one, it could also be a ticket to an incredible payday. Let's rewind the clock to 1943. America was in the thick of World War II. Materials like copper and nickel were essential for building weapons, machinery, and supplies for the military. That meant the US Mint had to make some drastic changes to how coins were produced. One of those changes involved the nickel, our 5-cent piece. From 1942 to 1945, the US Mint created what we now call wartime nickels. Instead of being made from their usual nickel-copper alloy, these nickels were struck using a mix of silver, manganese, and copper. Why? Because nickel was a critical material needed for the war effort, particularly for making armor plating, and that's where the 1943 P nickel comes in. It was struck in Philadelphia using this wartime alloy. You can actually spot these silver nickels pretty easily. They have a large mint mark above Monticello on the reverse side of the coin, which is different from other nickels. And yes, that big P stands for Philadelphia, but here's where it gets really exciting. Even though millions of these coins were produced, the passage of time, circulation, and wear have made high-grade examples very rare. And even more rare are the error coins, the mistakes that slipped through the cracks during production. These are the nickels that collectors are constantly hunting for, and when found in pristine condition or with unique features, they can sell for eye-popping amounts. Some of the rarest 1943 P nickels are those struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a 5-cent coin accidentally struck on a blank intended for a penny, or perhaps a foreign coin blank. These types of minting errors are extremely rare and extremely valuable. Then there are examples with doubling on the lettering or Monticello itself, commonly known as double die errors. These coins can show clear duplication of certain features, and when verified, can instantly skyrocket in value. Another factor that dramatically affects value is the coin's condition. Most 1943 P nickels found today are worn, scratched, or dulled from circulation. But if you happen to come across one that looks untouched, one with sharp details, original luster, and no visible wear, you might be holding something incredibly special. To identify a 1943 P silver nickel, look for that large P above the dome of Monticello on the reverse side. The coin should appear slightly different in color compared to modern nickels. It has a more matte silver appearance. You can also do a simple test. Wartime nickels have a different metal composition, so they weigh slightly more than modern nickels, about 5 grams instead of 5.5 grams. A simple digital scale can make all the difference in spotting one of these treasures. But let's take things one step further. What if you happen to find a 1943 P 5-cent coin with a major minting error, struck in near-perfect condition, with sharp details and original silver shine? What if it's been professionally graded by one of the top certification agencies like PCGS or NGC? Then you're not just holding a cool piece of history, you could be holding something truly extraordinary, because, yes, there have been verified examples of the 1943 P wartime nickel, especially rare varieties in pristine, uncirculated condition or with unique errors, that have fetched prices as high as $500,000. That's right. $500,000. $500,000. For a single nickel. And here's the best part, you don't have to be a millionaire to find one. These coins are still out there. They might be hiding in an old coin collection, tucked away in a box of inherited change, or even mixed into a forgotten piggy bank. All it takes is a sharp eye, a little curiosity, and the knowledge of what to look for. So the next time you come across a 1943 nickel with a big P over Monticello, don't brush it off. Take a closer look. You might be staring at one of the rarest and most valuable nickels in American history. Second rare coin, we're diving into the United States 5-cent coin from 2023, struck at the Denver Mint, marked with a bold little D. This coin might be just a nickel at face value, but under the right conditions, it could be worth a small fortune. So sit tight, because by the end of this video, you might just be racing to check your spare change. Let's start with the basics. The 2023 D Jefferson nickel features the familiar image of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, a design that's been part of U.S. coinage for decades. On the reverse, you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, standing tall and proud. At first glance, it might seem like just another regular coin, but don't be fooled. Not all nickels are created equal. The Denver Mint is known for high production volumes and generally reliable quality control, but even in modern minting, errors can and do occur. And when they do, those errors become the key to turning an everyday coin into an extraordinary collectible. So what exactly are collectors looking for when it comes to the 2023 D nickel? Let's break it down. First, there are die errors, like double dies, which occur when the coin is struck more than once in slightly different positions. This can result in doubling of Jefferson's I, the words, "In God We Trust," or even Monticello on the reverse. These doubled features are often subtle, but once spotted, they make a coin far more valuable. Next up, off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank isn't properly aligned with the die. If the design is noticeably off to one side, especially if a portion of it is missing, it's considered an off-center error. The more dramatic the error, the more collectors are willing to pay. Then there's the holy grail of modern errors, wrong planchet strikes. Imagine a nickel struck on a dime blank, or even a foreign coin blank. These kinds of errors are extremely rare, but they do happen. When a 2023 D nickel has one of these mistakes and is discovered in uncirculated condition, it instantly becomes a coin to watch. And let's not forget about condition. Coins that come straight from the mint, untouched and perfectly preserved, are labeled as mint state by grading services like PCGS and NGC. The highest grades, like MS67 or higher, are especially rare, even for brand new coins. These top-tier examples can be worth hundreds or thousands of times more than their face value, especially when combined with unique errors. Now here's the kicker, because this coin is so recent, many people overlook it. It's easy to assume a 2023 nickel can't possibly be valuable. But that's where the opportunity lies. These coins are still in circulation, and most of the public doesn't realize their potential. They're out there, hiding in plain sight, in bank rolls, cash drawers, and even in your own change. So how do you know if your 2023 D nickel might be one of the rare ones? Start by inspecting the coin closely. Use a magnifying glass if needed. Look for any doubling in the letters or numbers. Examine the placement of the design. Does anything seem misaligned? Is the coin oddly shaped or missing part of the image? Then check the edge. Does it seem thinner or thicker than usual? Anything unusual could be a clue that you're looking at something special. If you think you found something out of the ordinary, your next step should be getting the coin graded. A certified grade from a respected organization like NGC or PCGS adds legitimacy and value, and can often reveal hidden details that aren't obvious to the naked eye. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, a rare 2023 D Jefferson nickel, especially one with a major minting error, in mint state condition, and professionally graded, has already been valued at a staggering $40,000. That's right. $40,000. For a coin that could still be in your wallet right now. It's a powerful reminder that not every treasure is old. Sometimes, the newest coins are the ones hiding the biggest secrets. All it takes is a careful eye, a little patience, and the curiosity to look twice at the coins we take for granted. So go ahead, check your change, sort through your coin rolls, and keep your eyes peeled. That humble little nickel might just be your ticket to an unexpected fortune. Third expensive coin, we're talking about the 1964 United States 5-cent coin. Yes, the classic Jefferson nickel minted in Denver during one of the most intriguing chapters of U.S. coin history. Now, you might be wondering, how can an old nickel from 1964 be worth anything more than 5 cents? That's a fair question, and the answer will surprise you. Some rare variations of this coin, especially in top condition or with unique minting errors, have become highly prized collectibles. In fact, there are coins from this very year and mint that have sold for extraordinary amounts. So, stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just be checking every nickel you come across. Let's start with some background. The year 1964 marked the end of an era for American coinage. It was the final year that circulating U.S. coins were produced with a composition of 90% silver in the higher denominations. While nickels didn't contain silver, the U.S. Mint was under major pressure due to a nationwide coin shortage and hoarding of silver coins. As a result, production ramped up, and the Denver Mint struck a massive number of 1,964 nickels. But here's the twist: this mass production effort, combined with rushed processes and the reuse of dies, led to inconsistencies, varieties, and errors that are now worth serious money. The 1964 Jefferson nickel features the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, facing left, and Monticello, his famous estate, on the reverse. While millions were made, not all 1964 nickels are created equal. And if you know what to look for, you could spot something truly valuable hiding in plain sight. So, what makes a 1964 nickel special? First up, condition. Most of these coins entered circulation immediately and have seen decades of wear. Finding one in high-grade, uncirculated condition, with full steps on the Monticello building, is extremely rare. Those full steps are a critical detail. On the reverse side of the coin, the steps of Monticello should be crisp and fully visible. But because of worn dies and poor strikes, it's very unusual to find a 1964 nickel where all 6 steps are clearly defined. If you do, you're holding a premium coin right there, but it doesn't stop there. The real excitement comes from minting errors and die varieties. During 1964, some nickels were struck with repunched mint marks. That means the D was punched into the die more than once, and not always in the exact same position. When you look closely, you might see a shadow or doubling of the letter, what collectors call a RPM, or repunched mint mark. These coins are sought after, especially in pristine condition. Then you've got doubled dies, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. This could be on Jefferson's profile, on the lettering like, "In God We Trust," or even on Monticello. These doubling errors are rare, but when authenticated, they turn a common nickel into a collector's dream. Another rare phenomenon is when a 1964 nickel is struck on the wrong planchet, like a blank meant for a penny or foreign coin. These coins are extremely uncommon and instantly become valuable due to their uniqueness and historical curiosity. Now, imagine if you had a 1964 nickel that had all of these traits, struck in perfect, uncirculated condition, with full steps, and featuring a visible minting error. That's the kind of coin collectors are constantly searching for. And that's where we start talking serious money. So how can you tell if your nickel is worth more than just 5 cents? Start by examining the coin under good lighting or a magnifying glass. Look closely at the mint mark, the details on Jefferson's face, and the steps on Monticello. Does anything look unusual? Is there doubling? Is the strike sharp and the surface lustrous? Does it look different from other 1964 nickels? If so, it might be time to take the next step and have your coin graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. These organizations can authenticate your coin, confirm any errors, and assign a grade that directly affects its market value. And with something this old, rarity and condition are everything. Now, for the part you've all been waiting for. While most 1964 nickels are common, the rarest examples, those in superb condition with full steps and a confirmed mint error, have fetched some truly unbelievable prices. In fact, one exceptional specimen was valued at a breathtaking $200,000. Yes, you heard that right. $200,000 for a 5-cent coin. So next time you're sorting through your change, flipping through an old coin collection, or checking rolls from the bank, don't ignore the 1964 D nickel. What might look like an ordinary piece of metal could actually be a historic and high-value treasure. Especially, we're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from the year 1973. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a nickel. It's not that old, and I've probably seen hundreds of them. That's exactly what makes this coin so fascinating. It's ordinary on the surface, but under the right conditions, with specific features and rare minting errors, a 1973 Jefferson nickel can go from being worth 5 cents to a small fortune. Let's start by setting the scene. In 1973, America was going through a lot: rising inflation, the winding down of the Vietnam War, political tensions, and economic shifts. During this era, the U.S. Mint continued producing coins at high volumes to meet the demands of commerce. The Jefferson nickel had been the standard 5-cent piece since 1938, featuring the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his iconic home, Monticello, on the reverse. But as we've learned time and time again in the world of coin collecting, high mintage doesn't always mean low value. The key to turning an ordinary 1973 nickel into a rare collectible lies in its condition, errors, and varieties. Let's start with condition. Most nickels from the 1970s have been circulated heavily. They've seen gas station counters, vending machines, pockets, and piggy banks for 50 years. So finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition, what collectors call mint state, is already a challenge. A mint state 1973 nickel, especially one graded MS66 or higher by PCGS or NGC, is significantly more valuable than a worn coin. But if it has that additional factor, an error or rare feature, that's where the value starts skyrocketing. So what kinds of rare features are we talking about? Let's talk mint errors, starting with double die errors. This happens when the coin die, the tool used to strike the design onto the blank, is improperly manufactured and causes parts of the design to appear doubled. In 1973 nickels, this might show up in the lettering like, "In God We Trust," or "E Pluribus Unum," or in Jefferson's eye and facial features. When a double die error is confirmed, especially on a coin in great condition, collectors take serious interest. Then we have off-center strikes, which occur when the coin isn't properly aligned during minting. The more dramatic the off-center strike, and the more of the design that is still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. If your 1973 nickel shows this type of flaw, it's worth a closer look. Another extremely rare scenario is when a coin is struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a nickel-sized coin that's actually been struck on a blank intended for a dime or even a foreign coin. These errors are incredibly uncommon and are usually discovered by weight differences or unusual color and appearance, but the most desirable feature for many collectors of 1973 nickels is what's known as full steps. If you flip the coin over to look at Monticello, you'll notice a set of stairs leading up to the building. On most nickels, these steps are partially worn or weakly struck, even on new coins. But if all 6 steps are fully visible, clear, and sharply struck, known as full steps, that significantly increases the coin's grade and desirability. A 1973 Jefferson nickel with full steps is far more rare than most people realize, and just to add to the thrill, some 1973 nickels have been found with repunched mint marks, where the small d for Denver, or S for San Francisco, was punched more than once, slightly off-center. These varieties are subtle, but they're exactly the kind of detail that can transform a coin's value. Now, imagine you come across a 1973 nickel with full steps, a doubling error on the obverse, and it's in near-perfect condition. You send it off to get graded, and it comes back certified as MS67 with a verified mint error. That's no longer just a nickel. That's a prize, and for one such 1973 nickel, verified with these rare features, preserved in stunning condition, and certified by one of the top grading agencies, it was valued at an astonishing $120,000. Yes, you heard that right. $120,000 for a 5-cent coin. It's stories like these that prove why coin collecting is such an exciting journey. Every coin has a history, and some of them carry secrets that only a trained eye, or a bit of luck, can uncover. So the next time you're counting your change or rolling coins for the bank, take a second look. That dull nickel from 1973 could turn out to be something truly extraordinary. Next coin, we're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from 1975, minted in Denver, the 1975 D. Jefferson Nickel. At first glance, this might seem like just another nickel. It's the kind you might find at the bottom of your change jar or forgotten in an old piggy bank. But if you know what to look for, the 1975 D nickel could be worth far more than its face value. In fact, under the right conditions, with the right characteristics, this everyday coin could become an incredibly valuable collector's item. Let's travel back in time for a moment. It's 1975. The United States is in a transitional period, Vietnam is drawing to a close, pop culture is booming, and inflation is changing the way Americans think about money. During this era, the U.S. Mint was under pressure to keep up with demand for coins, and the Denver Mint was one of the key facilities producing hundreds of millions of them every year. The 1975 D. Jefferson Nickel features the classic design introduced in 1938. On the obverse side is Thomas Jefferson's portrait, facing left, and on the reverse, his historic estate, Monticello. But here's what makes it so interesting: among the massive number of nickels minted in 1975, a few special coins stand out from the rest. These are the ones that have become treasures in the eyes of collectors. And if you happen to find one, you could be looking at a true jackpot. Let's talk about what gives a 1975 D nickel its value. First and foremost, condition is everything. Most of these coins have spent decades in circulation, collecting scratches, nicks, and wear. That's expected. But coins that have somehow survived in near-perfect condition, what experts call mint state, are much harder to come by. These are coins that never saw circulation, were preserved carefully, and still shine with their original luster. A 1975 D nickel graded MS66 or MS67 by PCGS or NGC is already desirable. But that's only the beginning. Now comes the fun part: error coins and die varieties. The 1970s were a period when the U.S. Mint saw its fair share of production inconsistencies. And that's exactly what fuels the coin-collecting fire today. In particular, the 1975 D. Jefferson Nickel has been known to exhibit die cracks, die breaks, and doubling errors. A double die error can show up in Jefferson's hair details, the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," or even on the reverse in Monticello. These features make a coin instantly more collectible and often much more valuable. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin isn't aligned correctly during the minting process. If part of the design is missing or shifted noticeably, and a good portion of the original image remains intact, that coin is automatically rare. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value, especially if the date is still visible, and let's not forget repunched mint marks. On some 1975 D nickels, the D mint mark, indicating it was minted in Denver, was struck more than once, slightly off from the first strike. If you look closely and see what appears to be a shadow or ghosting effect on the mint mark, that's a repunched mint mark, also known as RPM. These small variations might seem insignificant, but to collectors, they're like a signature of rarity. Another highly prized feature is what's called the full steps designation. If you turn the coin over and look at Monticello, check the steps leading up to the building. A typical coin will show wear or weak strikes in this area, but a coin with clearly visible and sharply defined steps, known as full steps, is much more valuable. Only a small fraction of 1975 D nickels qualify for this distinction. Now imagine this: what if you come across a 1975 D nickel that's never been in circulation, has an off-center strike or a double die error, and the Monticello steps are fully visible and detailed? That's not just a lucky find. That's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And to make things even more thrilling, a verified specimen like that, in exceptional condition and graded by a professional coin grading service, has sold for an astounding $100,000. Yes, you heard right. $100,000, for a 5-cent coin. It's an amazing reminder that history, rarity, and condition can turn even the most common-looking coin into a piece of treasure. And the best part? These coins are still out there. They might be in a forgotten coin jar, a box in the attic, or even handed to you as change at the grocery store. So don't ignore your nickels. Take the time to check the date, inspect the mint mark, and look for signs of errors or unusual features. What might seem ordinary could actually be extraordinary. Now, we're talking about the 1985 United States 5-cent coin, the humble Jefferson nickel that might just surprise you. Now, we know what you're thinking. How could a nickel from 1985, a coin that's not even made of silver or gold, be worth anything more than 5 cents? And that's what makes this so fascinating. While millions of these coins were minted and circulated, only a handful stand out. And those rare few? They've become the holy grail for dedicated collectors. Let's take a closer look at why this simple coin from the mid-80s has become such a sought-after collectible in the numismatic world. The 1985 nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, which is what the small d underneath the date signifies. The design itself follows the classic Jefferson format. On the front, we have the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag. On the back, we see his famous home, Monticello, a structure that's been etched into American coinage for generations. So what's so special about this particular year and mint mark? To begin with, the 1980s were a decade of industrial changes at the U.S. Mint. Though coins were produced in high volumes, there was increased reliance on worn and overused dies, leading to some fascinating inconsistencies and variations. That's music to the ears of collectors, because when coins don't come out perfect, they often become more valuable over time. One of the most important factors to look for in a 1985 nickel is its condition. Coins that entered circulation immediately started showing wear, scratches, nicks, and fading detail. But a few lucky examples were preserved in perfect condition, untouched by the hands of time. These are the mint state coins, graded MS65 and above, and they're already valuable on condition alone. But that's just the beginning. The real treasures are the error coins, those nickels that have something noticeably different, something that sets them apart from the other millions that were minted. One such error is the double die, where part of the design appears to be duplicated slightly due to a misalignment during the minting process. On a 1985 nickel, doubling might appear on Jefferson's I, the word liberty, or the date. These subtle errors can command a premium, especially in high grades. Next up, we have off-center strikes. When the blank coin, called a planchet, isn't lined up correctly with the die, the resulting coin comes out visibly off-center. Some might have 10 to 20% of the design missing or shifted to one side. The more off-center the strike, without losing the date, the more collectible the coin becomes. Another variety collectors love to chase is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. That small d beneath the year? Sometimes it was punched into the die twice, with the second strike slightly off from the first. If you see what looks like a shadow or doubling effect on the mint mark, you could be holding one of these unique RPM nickels. And we can't forget about full steps. For Jefferson nickel collectors, this is a huge deal. Look at the steps on Monticello on the reverse of the coin. Are they crisp, clearly defined, and uninterrupted from left to right? That's the sign of a sharp strike, and it's extremely rare, especially for the 1985 issue. Coins with full steps get a special designation and are highly prized by serious collectors. Now, here's the kicker: if you manage to find a 1985 Jefferson nickel that checks all these boxes, mint state condition, full steps, and a confirmed minting error, you're not just holding pocket change. You're holding a serious collectible. And for one such remarkable example, graded at the highest level, with full details, a brilliant strike, and a documented error, the value soared to a stunning $70,000. Yes, you heard that right. $70,000 for a 5-cent coin. It's the kind of discovery that turns an average day into an unforgettable one. And it proves once again that treasure isn't always buried in the ground, it might just be hiding in your spare change. So take a moment to check your nickels. Dig into your coin jar. Revisit that collection you inherited or started years ago. That seemingly ordinary 1985 D nickel could be the key to an extraordinary story. Last unique coin, we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of the 1990 P United States 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson Nickel. And trust me, you'll want to stick around until the very end, because one of these unassuming nickels has been valued at a jaw-dropping amount. Let's kick things off by talking about what this coin actually is. The Jefferson Nickel has been a fixture in American pockets and cash registers since 1938. The 1990 P nickel continues the tradition, featuring the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and the iconic Monticello building on the reverse. The P mint mark indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and like many modern coins, it was mass-produced in the hundreds of millions. So how can a coin this common become something incredibly rare and valuable? That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about how many coins were made, it's about how many survived in perfect condition, or with rare errors, or with unique characteristics that set them apart from the rest. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. Let's talk condition first. Most nickels from the 1990s were used day in and day out. They've been through vending machines, laundromats, and parking meters. Finding a 1990 P nickel in pristine, uncirculated condition is harder than it sounds. These mint state coins, especially those graded MS-66 or MS-67 by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, are already on collectors' radars. But when that sharp condition is paired with an error or special detail, the value skyrockets. Now, let's get into the good stuff. Errors and varieties. One of the most sought-after characteristics on any Jefferson nickel is what's known as the full steps designation. Flip the coin over and look at the steps on Monticello. Most nickels, even new ones, show blurred or weak steps due to worn dies or low striking pressure. But a full steps nickel? It has 5 or 6 clearly defined, uninterrupted steps, and that level of detail is a sign of an exceptional strike. Full steps dramatically increase the value of the coin, especially when combined with a high grade, but there's more. Double die errors are another big draw for collectors. These happen during the minting process when the coin's design is stamped more than once in slightly different positions. It can cause parts of the design, like the lettering, the date, or even Jefferson's profile, to appear doubled. It's a rare flaw, but when it happens, it creates a variety that's instantly more valuable. Then there are off-center strikes. Picture a nickel where the image is shifted, and part of the design is missing. These types of errors are dramatic, easy to spot, and highly collectible. The more off-center the strike, and the more of the date and design that remain visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Let's not forget about wrong planchet errors, where a nickel design is accidentally struck on a blank meant for a different denomination. These wrong metal coins can weigh differently, look unusual, and are incredibly rare. If you ever come across a 1990 P nickel that feels lighter or has a different tone, it's worth having it checked by an expert. There's also the repunched mint mark, or RPM. That tiny P for Philadelphia can sometimes show doubling or shadowing, indicating that the mint mark was stamped twice. These small variations may seem insignificant at first glance, but they're exactly what collectors love to hunt for. Now imagine this scenario. You're sorting through some change or an old coin collection, and you find a 1990 P nickel. It's in near-flawless condition, no scratches, perfect luster, and when you examine it under magnification, you notice it has full steps on the Monticello, a clean repunched mint mark, and possibly even signs of doubling on the lettering. That's no ordinary coin anymore. That's something special, and for one such incredible 1990 P nickel, graded at the highest level and featuring a rare error, the value reached a stunning $50,000. Yes, you heard that right. $50,000 for a 5-cent coin. That's the magic of numismatics. Sometimes the most valuable pieces aren't the oldest or the shiniest, they're the ones with hidden details that only a sharp eye and a bit of knowledge can spot. And those treasures are still out there. In your drawer. In your change jar. Maybe even in your pocket right now. So before you toss that nickel aside, take a closer look. The next big discovery might be right in your hand. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future coin spotlights. We've got more exciting discoveries to share, and who knows? One of them could lead you straight to a small fortune. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting.